watching my channel. If you like what you see, you can like, share, subscribe. You can also donate via PayPal, even though the link's not there. Somewhere on the channel, it'll have the link. This stream is brought to you by LIVE Products. LIVE, live now. We're live now. We have a range of drinks, punches, and cleaning products. If you're in the Trinidad and Tobago area, feel free to order. All praise be to the Most High God. The Most High God comes first. God praise the Most High God, because the Most High God, without him, nothing would be done. Let's talk some boxing. I'm what you need. So we're looking at the upcoming fights for 2025. Of course, we can't cover all of the upcoming fights for 2025 that we have ahead of us, but there are some that will create some buzz because they're really good matchups, and we're going to go into detail about that. So far, 2025 hasn't been bad for boxing. Absolutely hasn't been bad. We've had some rematches, we've had some fights, and some really good matchups, which is good. And then we've had some less than stellar matchups, and then we've had some matchups in which we got some surprises, and that's good. One of them was Lamont Roach versus Gervonta Tank Davis, and I got to admit, I really appreciate Lamont Roach doing what he did, because while I didn't think much of the fight and the matchup, I did have in the back of my mind, this guy looks like he's for real, but I wasn't sure. Anyways, I knew he had history with Tank, but I wasn't sure, and so I just dismissed it from the back of my mind, to be honest with you. I'm not even going to lie. But Lamont Roach brought into perspective what I already knew with respect to Gervonta Tank Davis. Gervonta is fighting less than opponents to boost his knockout ratio and his knockout resume. And he was hoping that by dragging up Lamont to 135 pounds, that would have given him the advantage and he would be able to overpower him and overwhelm him. He obviously is very familiar with Lamont. The thing is, Lamont Roach basically exposed Gervonta Tank Davis. Exposed him. And I'm going to explain to you how easy. Thing about Tank is, Tank usually is the guy that counters other guys and gets them out of there. In this case, he couldn't do that. He wasn't the guy dictating the pace. He wasn't the guy who was actually being effective with his counters. It was Lamont Roach who was countering him. And what do we know about Shakur Stevenson? What do we know about Devin Haney? They are excellent counterpunchers, right? Ryan Garcia, he got great with left hook, but he really ain't nothing else but his left hook. Whereas Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson, they're much more complex fighters. Their boxing is much more complex. If Devin Haney had boxed Ryan Garcia instead of trying to bang it out with him, he probably would have beaten Ryan Garcia easy. So the point I'm making is, Tank, I believe Lamont Roach exposed Tank, because Lamont Roach obviously is up there. He definitely belongs up there with the Devin Haney's and the Shakur Stevensons and the Africa, but because he lost to Jamel Herring 6 years ago, stepping up to the plate, not having the experience to get going when he should have gotten going, he kind of got going a little too late. People think that he's less than as a fighter, but we see after that, he just beat everybody else's ass. And while Jamel Herring has the enviable position of handing him his first loss, not only has he shown much more since that fight, but he's gotten wiser and smarter on how to approach a fight against an opponent, and that was reflected in his fight against Tank. Which, if a rematch happens, I'm definitely going to this time not sleep on Lamont Roach, and I do think Lamont will beat Tank yet again. And of the two opponents, I thought Lamont Roach was the more effective at landing the heavier more damaging punches, because I didn't really see Lamont Roach get phased by anything Tank did, mainly because of his defense and how he was reacting to deflect and to parry and to snap back from Tank's punches. But also the fact that he would counter after Tank would throw something showed that he was a thinking fighter in there, and he actually hurt Tank. He staggered Tank, I think, 2 times in the fight. He also visibly disturbed him. Tank actually took a knee because, he caught him with a counter shot again. They said it was a glancing blow. I thought it was a suitable enough punch, the right hand that came. And then after that, he popped him with 2 jabs. And I think Tank just crumbled to the pressure. He actually crumbled under the pressure. And that's why he took a knee. He needed to buy time. And no matter what he says, even if something gets in your eye, you don't need to take a knee. Now you could take a knee, but you don't need to take a knee. You know what I'm saying? And he took a knee. You know what I mean? Floyd Mayweather wouldn't have taken a knee there. I can tell you that. He'd complain to the referee maybe and say something's in my eye or whatever, but he wasn't going to complain to no referee. And we know that because in the fight against Marcos Maidana, when he clashed heads with Marcos Maidana, and blood was going into his eye, and he was saying, I can't see. He didn't take no damn knee. He covered up, and Marcos Maidana started raining punches on him, but he didn't take a knee. Now, the guy that was facing Tank was a much more thoroughly schooled boxer than Marcos Maidana was against Floyd. But the thing about Marcos Maidana was his unpredictability and the unorthodox nature of his shots. So when you take that into consideration, both events kind of balance out each other because Lamont Roach is more of a technical fighter. So the fact that Tank took a knee means he needed a pause in the action. He needed a reset. And, Lamont Roach was breaking him down. He was literally breaking him down mentally and physically was breaking him down. And that was quite a hell of a fight. And even though Tank came back with a lot of fury, it wasn't landing much of anything on Lamont. And Lamont was responding and coming back with things. So Tank, he kept on telling Tank, if you throw, you gonna pay for throwing. So that's what Lamont Roach, he was disciplining Tank up in there. And that was really interesting to see. And I just think that in a rematch, barring Tank getting lucky, which just doesn't happen. There's really no luck in boxing. I think Lamont Roach is going to beat him again. And Lamont Roach knows this. He knows he's got Tank's number. And he knows he's going to beat him again. People are saying that Ryan Garcia's got Devin Haney's number. I don't think so. I think Devin Haney fought more aggressive against Ryan Garcia. And he was actually brawling at a certain point. He was trying to out-brawl Ryan, which was very interesting to see. Kind of abandoned everything that, all his boxing IQ and everything, and was just throwing hands at him. And he was just trying to bang out, and he lost in that bang out trade. But hopefully he comes in and he fights a lot smarter and in the rematch with Ryan Garcia. And I think truly he can beat Ryan Garcia. I've seen him beat better boxers than Ryan Garcia. I've seen him beat much better guys than Ryan. I don't see why he can't beat Ryan Garcia. In fact, at the end of the day, he had more rounds in the bag than Ryan Garcia. He won more rounds than Ryan Garcia in that fight, in spite of him trying to bang with Ryan Garcia. The reason Ryan Garcia was bailed out was because he dropped Devin 3 times in that fight. So he bailed him out in that. And even then, it was a close decision. You know what I'm saying? So, Ryan Garcia was pulling like a Tank sort of thing. The more superior boxer of the two of them was Devin, but Devin put himself in a position where he got tagged a couple times. And hey, it is what it is. Ryan also cheated in that fight, which kind of negated everything. But the point is, having said that, Devin was actually trying to bang instead of box and fight. You can bang and you can fight in spurts or in little places where you have the advantage. He didn't do that. He didn't follow the boxing acumen. And even so, I thought, what was amazing? He caught Ryan Garcia with, I think it was a left hook or a jab or something, and staggered Ryan Garcia in, I think it was the second round of one of them. So Devin has power as well. Sneaky power, just like Lamont Roach. I think the problem with guys like Devin And of course, he was fighting at a weight deficiency, significant weight deficiency, because Ryan did not make the weight. But if you even with that, he ended up with an even. Like, imagine if there's an even playing field, what Devin would do to Ryan. Just think about what I'm saying. An even playing field. Devin fights the fight smarter than he did against Ryan. He was just trying to get at Ryan. With an even playing field, I think Devin beats Ryan walking away. I think there's an ocean of difference between Devin and Ryan. Ryan tried to play psychological games. He had Floyd and Oscar and what's that guy's name? And Bernard Hopkins on his side. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I think that Devin. I think he hands down beats Ryan. And I think a lot of y'all don't believe that until you see it. You see Devin beat Ryan. Now, the other question is, of course, which we're going to get to eventually, is Devin Haney mentally there to fight other boxers? Did this mentally mess him up or not? And that's what we're going to find out. If his confidence is still there, if he's ready to enter back into the field and to pick the biggest and the best and the most the most dangerous opponents. That's the question, right? So we're gonna see, or if it was just matchmaking that was making him what it was. But from certain things I saw Lamont Roach doing to Tank, I know Devin can do those same things to Tank. That's what Devin do. And as an orthodox fighter. And then when I look at but of course, Devin more fight on the outside, not as much on the inside. But it would be interesting to see, because the difference here is Lamont Roach, once he got to the inside, that was like his area. That's his thing, and he's able to go to the body, mix it up to the body, to the head. And Lamont Roach and Tank are around about the same height as well. And Tank always has problems with guys that are around about the same height as him. So all of those things are to be noted. But still, having said that, Devin has that same kind of twitchy, kind of counter punching, feinting as if he's coming in one way. And then he got that long jab. And, the jab made a big difference in that fight against Tank. Lamont Roach's jab really set up everything. And Devin Haney has one of the best jabs out there. So I'm thinking about all of that. And I'm thinking to myself, I think styles make fights. And I just think, stylistically speaking, Devin beats Tank. And I don't think Tank punches harder than, I don't think he punches harder in any way, shape, or form than Ryan Garcia at 143 pounds when he weighed in, having the weight advantage and with PEDs in his system. I don't think he punches harder than Ryan. So not that it matters, because again, it's not how hard you punch, it's when you punch and the fact that the opponent doesn't expect you to land that punch. Tank really mostly works on split speed and catching you with a punch you didn't see. That's what he did with Frank Martin. That's what he did with Rolly Romero. He catching you with stuff. He's a smart fighter. He walks you into stuff. And I don't think he would do that with Devin. I think Devin's smart enough. I don't think he does that with Richardson. I don't think that he does that with Shakur. Shakur is a defensive fighter. I just don't see him. I see all those guys out all pointing him. The guy who would mix it up with him, and he's a counter puncher himself, he would counter your counter, is Teofimo Lopez. And that would be an interesting fight. That would be an action-packed fight. Tank versus Teofimo Lopez would be an action-packed fight. We don't know how long it would last. Teo has been dropped before. So that would be an interesting fight, though. And we're going to talk about all of this because guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Guess what? One of the features of this upcoming fights is going to be that's a pretty big card right there. And we're going to talk about it right now. So here we have in front of us a picture of Dmitry Bivol versus Artur Beterbiev. I'm not sure which one this is, if this is the second one or the first one, because Beterbiev's his right hand caught Bivol in his face, as you can clearly see there. So maybe it's the first one. I don't know. You guys, you can tell me. All right, so we got some exciting stuff coming up here. And I'm not really, I'm going to be real with y'all. I'm not really hyped so much for boxing these days. It's one of those things. Besides the fact that I just haven't had the time to do these videos. And sometimes the monetary returns are just not worth it for me to do these videos. Some of y'all saying, why you don't do these videos? And I'm busy working, bro. I got to make money elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? The things that bring in money for me, I'll pursue. The things that are drying up and not bringing the money that they used to bring, I just move on from them. You know, it's just like that. If you see me doing a stream, like you see me doing this video today, it's because I'm sponsored, one. And two, it's also because, you know, somebody donated money to my channel and asked me to do this video. So if you see me doing a video, it's because I've been paid to do the video. I'm not just going to do videos just like that, man. You know, I do videos for my other channel that's nonprofit, but that's because, again, I'm dealing with issues which have to do with, you know, geopolitics and real life and certain things I'm passionate about. And even then, I do get some sort of remuneration for that. And I am sponsored to do those videos as well. So if you see me doing videos on here, you better best believe I'm getting paid to do the video. I'm not going to do no video on here anymore where I'm burning time and I'm not making any money off of it. I told you I'm a businessman. I make money off of what I do. So if you guys want me to continue doing videos, you can donate to my PayPal. Or if you are in the vicinity of the island I live on where I sell these drinks and I'm expanding my small business, you can also invest in the drinks. So that's one of the ways to do it. But otherwise, you know, don't expect me to be coming on here doing videos for y'all. Y'all just watching the videos and commenting. And I get no compensation for it. You know what I'm saying? I just don't. I'm not into that anymore. I was cool about that, but now I'm past that. Okay, so let me keep on doing this video here. So yeah, let's talk about this month here. Okay, first of all, there will be undisputed welterweight championship between Natasha Jones and Lauren Price. That is March 11th in London, as you can clearly see the site I'm on. If you guys want to check it out, Sporting News. Okay. Caroline Dubois, who is Daniel Dubois' sister, she's going to be defending, she's the champion. She's going to be defending Bo Mi Ray Shin for the WBC lightweight title. So we're going to have a welterweight unification, undisputed championship unification fight between Natasha Jones and Lauren Price at welterweight. And we're also going to have on March 7th, I guess this is going to be shown on Sky Sports. If you guys have Sky Sports stuff, it's going to be shown. And then there will be the battle for the WBC lightweight title with heavy hitting Caroline Dubois and Bo Mi Ren Shin. I guess all of this is going to happen in the UK. On March 7th, Brighton Centre, Brighton, England. We have Harlem Eubank, that's Chris Eubank's cousin, I best, versus Tyron McKenna, and that's at welterweight. Okay. The same day, in the Canadian Casino Resort in Canada on DAZN, we're going to have Sarah Bailey, who's going to be fighting for the light flyweight title against the opponent is still yet to be announced. Okay, so all of that happens on March 7th. On March 12th, we have Keith Thurman versus Brock Jarvis in Australia, in Sydney, Australia. And this is for the super welterweight fight. Keith Thurman has already traveled across. You heard him talking to Brock Jarvis and so on, and so on, and so on. Again, I'm not really highly interested in any of these fights I just mentioned. I'm just mentioning them. I'm going to focus on, you know, the fights that are more interesting to me. Now, if you guys are interested in those fights, you know, seeing Keith Thurman come back, old man Keith Thurman versus young Brock Jarvis, who is looking to upset him, you know, or you want to see Sarah Bailey, who's at light flyweight. She's the champion there, WBA champion. Or you want to see Dubois or Jones, Natasha Jones. Y'all know Natasha Jones. You know Caroline Dubois. Fine. Those are championship fights, unification, stuff like that. I don't really know the other people that well. I don't follow boxing like that. March 13th in Japan on ESPN Plus, we got a unification fight between the WBA and WBC flyweight champions, Kenshiro Teragi and Seijo Yuri Akui. I guess these are both Japanese guys. That's why it's in Japan. So the WBA and WBC flyweight champions, they're going to fight each other. Anthony Olaskuaga versus Hiroto Kaioguchi for the WBO flyweight title. The champion right now is Anthony Olaskuaga. Okay. Hiroto Kaioguchi's been around for a little while, so he's getting another championship shot again. Shokihichi Iwata, who's the champion, will be fighting Rene Santiago for the WB light flyweight title. So we got a couple of championship fights on March 13th on ESPN Plus. Some of y'all like the lighter weights, right? Y'all into that shit. But I'm not really into that shit either. March 15th, Echo Arena, Liverpool. Nick Ball is the champion. He's fighting TJ Doheny for the WBA featherweight title. Again, another lower weight class championship fight. Good luck to them. On March 15th as well, on DAZN in Orlando, Florida, we have Austin Williams versus Patrice Volney. These are two middleweights. I don't know why we are seeing them, but whatever. March 16th in the Hulu Theater at MSG, New York, UFC Fight Pass. So this is UFC. Dana White is hosting this one. Callum Walsh, I believe Callum Walsh faced Artur Beterbiev, and I think he's the guy that dropped him, I think. First, Dean Sutherland for super welterweights. Nope, I'm wrong. Okay, I'm wrong. I don't know who these two guys are. March 22nd, Sydney, Australia, on DAZN. George Kambosos Jr., he faces Dodd Yarden at super lightweight. And this is the heading of the card. It's Kambosos versus Yarden. I guess this is just to get Kambosos a win after his knockout loss, his TKO loss to Vasily Lomachenko. And Kambosos is in that hat at lightweight, All the top lightweights would want to face him because, he's fought Lomachenko, he's fought Devin Haney. He's been unified lightweight world champion. So all of those things are a reason to fight him. On the undercard, we have people we don't know, which is Sky Nicholson, Tierra Brown. They're fighting each other, Sky Nicholson and Tierra Brown. This is women's for the WBC featherweight title. And we also have Cherneka Johnson versus Nina Hughes for Verneka's WBA bantamweight title. Okay. So, we got some names out there, but of course, these are not fights I'm interested in. I'll be honest with you. I don't care really what happens with Kambosos. I don't care what happens with Keith Thurman. I really don't. They're big names, but they're not facing big challenges. So obviously those fights are zero interest to me. In Mandalay Resort and Casino, Las Vegas, Sebastian Fundora is going to defend against Cordale Booker for the WBC and WBO super welterweight titles. So Fundora is a champion. He's defending his, I believe he's defending his two belts that he won against Tim Tszyu, against a guy called Cordale Booker. Let's not forget that I believe the IBF champion at 154 is Terrence Crawford. Is it Terrence? Not too sure who's the champion at 154 in terms of the IBF. I think he's the IBF champion. Is he the WB? He's not the WBO because obviously, no. Fundora has that. So he's either the IBF or the WBA, and I can't remember who's who. Right? Terry Harper fought Natalie Zimmerman for the WBO she's the WBO lightweight champion, Terry Harper. She's going to defend her title against Natalie Zimmerman. Oh, I think if I'm not mistaken, Victor Ortiz faced the guy that faced Terrence Crawford. And if I'm not mistaken, Victor Ortiz beat him up. I don't think he knocked him out, but he beat him up. So that same guy that Terrence Crawford said, let's see what happens with it. Victor Ortiz beat him. If I'm not mistaken. I can always go and look. Let me see. I believe so. I'm not 100%. Am I correct? Not Victor Ortiz. What am I saying? What's his name? What's his name? Shit. Virgil Ortiz. My bad. Not Victor Ortiz. Virgil Ortiz. My goodness. Let's see. Yeah, Israel Madrimov. I believe Israel Madrimov just faced Terrence Crawford. Yeah. So Israel Madrimov came off a loss to Terrence Crawford, right? And then he lost to Victor Ortiz by unanimous decision. So Victor Ortiz actually did something that Terrence Crawford did. Now I don't know if because he lost to Terrence Crawford, because a guy coming off a loss, may his confidence and other things affected. But Victor Ortiz beat him, and I think a lot of people were shocked that Victor Ortiz beat him, right? So Terrence Crawford was saying, this guy would prove X, Y, and Z, and blah 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 blah. But then Victor Ortiz beat him. So what does that mean? And what did Victor Ortiz win, by the way? Was that the WBA or what was that? It's the WBC interim. No. Sorry, my bad. So Terrence Crawford is the WBA. Sorry, my bad. He's the WBA champion right now. And who is the IBF champion right now? The IBF champion, I don't know. I think it's the guy that I'm not sure if it's the guy that stopped Tim Tszyu. Was it the guy that stopped Tim Tszyu? I can't remember. But anyways, come on, man. Come on. Why are you taking so long to load up? Man, stop playing up your ass. Hold on a second. Clear that up. Okay, anyways. The point is, what am I saying? I'm just saying that, a defense of your title is cool, but Fundora, that is. But it's also another fight I'm not really interested in. On March the 23rd, Terri Harper, that's this month, Terri Harper is going to be defending her WBO lightweight title against Natalie Zimmerman. Not interested in that. On March 29th, Mikaela Mayer, she's going to be defending her WBO welterweight title against Sandy Ryan. They're going to have a rematch. Brian Norman Jr., who we've been hearing about, he's the WBO welterweight champion right now. He's going to be facing Derek Cuevas. So we have champions defending their titles, and I'm not interested in none of that. March 29th, we got William Zepeda rematching Tevin Farmer for the interim WBC lightweight title. This interests me because Tevin Farmer not only made a good account of himself, he also knocked down William Zepeda. And you could argue a case that Tevin Farmer won that fight. Not only did he make William Zepeda vulnerable, but he knocked his ass down. And he was beating him up for a minute there. So I can totally see that fight. That's a fight I would like to see. I would like to see the rematch. And Tevin's old. So, it's really something I would like to see, and it was a good fight. So the fact that they're going to run it back, the only problem with this is this fight is going to happen in Cancun, Mexico. I don't know if that's a good thing, but we'll just see if Tevin can go across there and make a good account of himself. I hope he does. Okay. On March 29th is a fight that I absolutely am zero interested in. The casuals will be, but not me. KSI versus Dylan Dennis. Don't really give a flying fuck about that. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I really don't care about that. On April 4th, in London, on DAZN, Daniel Dos Santos is going to be putting his European light heavyweight title on the line against Shakan Pitters. That's some local shit that I'm really not interested in, of course. Johnny Beck, he's going to be facing Anuel Nagamizere for the IBF and WBO middleweight titles, which he both possess. He's a unified champion. That's on ESPN Plus. Once again, not really something I'm interested in watching, even though I know Johnny Beck and people are talking about his reputation and stuff. But I really want to see him face one of the top echelon fighters before I could say anything else about him. So that's how I feel about that. However, finally, we got something that we can be interested in, even though it's not a championship bout. Dillian Whyte versus Joe Joyce. Both Dillian Whyte, Joe Joyce got knocked out of recent times. And so it'd be good to see these two fighters duke it out. Of course, Lawrence Okoli, who also lost his championship, he'll be facing Richard Riek Porhe, or whatever the fuck that is, at heavyweight. So Lawrence Okoli has moved up to heavyweight. And David Adelaide, he's going to be facing Jamie Shikiva or Shikiva, or whatever the hell that is. So it's an all heavyweight championship fight in Manchester, England on DAZN. Dillian Whyte versus Joe Joyce, that obviously going to get our interest because both guys are coming off of not great performances. And we'd like to see how that kind of shapes up. There's another fighter that I also like watching. He kind of grew on me, and even though he has never won a championship and he's also been knocked out and all those kinds of things, is what's his name? I can't remember his name right now. He faced Alexander Usyk. He's faced Tyson Fury like 3 or 4 times, I think. Can't remember his name. It begins with C, but I just can't see his name right now. I'm seeing all kinds of other things right now. On April 5th, Pearl Concert Theater at Palms Casino, Las Vegas, we got Richard Torres versus Guido Vianello. This is heavyweight fighters against each other on ESPN. Again, ESPN hasn't showed me anything that gets me interested in anything. You know what I mean? On April 6th on Prime, Amazon Prime that is, in Australia, we're going to have Tim Tszyu versus Joey Spencer. Joey Spencer's a good super welterweight, even though he got stopped, I believe, quite recently. And Tim Tszyu, he got stopped as well, and he also lost his championship to Fundora. So, this Tim Tszyu's a gladiator. Okay, he's a fighter, and Joey Spencer is a good fighter. So you put those two together, you're gonna get an action-packed fight. It should be an interesting fight. I don't know if Spencer's gonna be tactical. He's just gonna keep on doing his thing. I don't know who's gonna win in that. That's actually an intriguing fight. It'll be on Amazon Prime. In Montreal, Canada, we're gonna have Dimitri Asanu versus Francisco Patea. I don't even know who the hell these people are. Mary Spencer, who's a champion of the WBA welterweight title, versus Oglides Suarez. I don't give a flying nick about this. Again, ESPN giving us stuff that we don't care about. DAZN, Broadwalk, Atlantic City, New Jersey. Jaron Ennis versus Elimantis Stanionis. The unification bout between Jaron Ennis, who's the IBF champion, and Stanionis, who's the WBA champion, and the ring welterweight titles. This is a great matchup. This is what we should have gotten at welterweight. Now let me just go across here for a second here. So we talked about this card here. Queensberry and DAZN come together to make this card possible. Joe Joyce versus Dillian Whyte. That is a good, solid heavyweight matchup. It's well matched. I really, this is going to be good for sure. And then we have Okali fighting at heavyweight now. So that's also very interesting. And then we got this. This, ladies and gentlemen, DAZN is in it right now. This right now is a great, and the claim for the crown, the Ring Magazine crown right there. So, and you see, Stanionis has the WBA title, Jaron Ennis has the IBF title. This is, oh, come on, man. This is what we wanted for so long. We wanted this about 3 years ago, and we're finally getting it. So, It'll be interesting to see how Jerome performs if he can still make 147 and if he can still perform at 147. But Jerome Ennis is going to definitely press buttons and test him out and see what he's got. Not Jerome Ennis, sorry, Stanionis. He's definitely going to, because Stanionis fights at a very high rate, very active fighter, got an incredible, he's always in ridiculous shape. So this will be a good fight for Geronis and for Elementus Stanionis. So I'm looking forward to this fight. And you know this. These are the kinds of fights that I think fight fans would be interested in. And this is a fight I am definitely interested in. Let's keep it moving here. So that's a good fight. April 5th, 19th, Canon Medical Arena, Sheffield, England. Dalton Smith versus Matteo Germain, super lightweights. Don't give a fuck about that. April 20th, PB Pulse Live, Birmingham. Ben Whitaker versus Liam Cameron, light heavyweights. Ben Whitaker is kind of an emerging star. He kind of looked a little flawed, but it is what it is. On April 26th, however, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, London, England, on the zone. Chris Eubank Jr. is going to be facing Conor Benn. That's a huge fight. Born Rivals is called Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. It's also on the Fatal Fury. It's on the Fatal Fury theme. You know what I mean? You have Rider Season and you got Fatal Fury. So it's brought to you by The Ring, SNK, and Fatal Fury City of Wolves. And we'll go into that in a little bit, what that is about. Actually, I might as well. Let me see if I can get it. So Fatal Fury City of the Wolves is basically saying that the fall of an empire, fall of an era empire, where Fatal Fury is saying, hey, we come to take over the fight game. The usual, promoter over here, network over there. We gonna bring everything together and destroy that empire and what made that strong, and we're gonna bring this in. That's basically what they're saying. This is a good matchup because these guys got history with their fathers. A rivalry that used to happen there. There's bad blood between them for real. So they're paying each other to fight each other. And I'm not sure exactly. It's supposed to be. They're saying it's October 8th in the Ozone Arena. There was a press conference for it. So this is going to be huge. Okay. When it comes to local domestic fights, this is the biggest local domestic fight that the UK can provide. Eubank versus Ben. That's going to be huge. That's a huge fight. I'm not sure what weight they're having it at, but whatever weight they're having it at, it's going to be a hell of a promotion towards that. It's quite in October, though. Okay. Let me see here. Let me get out of this. All right. Now, on May 2nd is the day that it's huge. Okay. This is probably the biggest combination of fights for this year so far. In Times Square, New York, you're going to have a triple header. But who actually heads the card? It's going to be at the top of the card is Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero. And I told y'all in a video sometime back that Ryan Garcia, he's a money-making machine. He's big, Ryan's a big, he's a big name in boxing. And those of you who don't know that, he's just huge. I mean, this guy, when it comes to pay-per-view, this guy knows how to turn over pay-per-view. All right, got that star power. Now, I'm not sure. I think the Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia fight, it did decent numbers in terms of pay-per-view. I can go and look and see what pay-per-view buys it did. Actually, let's go look at it because I'm very interested. I think it did decent numbers, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember though. So let me have a look. Let me see here. People wanted their money back and all kinds of shit. Let's see what they say. Okay, they said it did a little over 300,000 pay-per-view buys. what do they say? Okay, so on X it says that Ryan Garcia has said that Devin Haney fight did between 400 and 500,000 pay-per-view buys, which is decent. Like I said, it was decent pay-per-view buys because people can't even crack 200,000 pay-per-view buys these days. So that's not bad. Okay, I'm sure it made more than uh Tank versus Lamont Roach. That's for sure. It's decent money. Ryan did sabotage the pay-per-view as well, but it still made money. And I'm just saying that Ryan's a guy who's been making money for the last, he's a money man. He really is the guy that actually fuels the drive that makes money for fights. You know what I mean? And this card here, which is hosted by The Ring, this card here is a wicked card, man. So let's begin from the beginning here. Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero. That's what's heading the card. I think the second fight, the penultimate fight, I think is Haney versus Ramirez, and the first fight to open the night will be Teofimo Lopez versus what's his name? That's crazy. Barboza. Okay, but I can't remember his first name for something. Motherfucker with it. Yeah. Arnold Barboza. There you go. Okay, so Teofimo Lopez is the only one defending his title, the Ring Magazine, as well as the WBO title. And that'll be against the challenger, Arnold Barboza, who is mandatory for a very long time, and he just didn't face him. So the other two fights are intriguing because, one, these are really good opponents. I think I'm going to say this, but I'm not really sure. I think the fighter who has it possibly in all of the A-sides there, easiest, it's either between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. Devin Haney has Jose Carlos Ramirez, but Jose Ramirez, I mean, he hasn't looked good in a good minute, okay? Not saying that Rolly Romero has looked good in a good minute, but I'm just saying. Teofimo Lopez is actually facing a guy who's a real threat. Arnold Barboza, undefeated, very determined, very dedicated fighter. So Teofimo Lopez, I think, has the toughest opponent of the three. I'm not too sure who has the weakest opponent. It could be Rolly Romero versus Ryan Garcia, where Rolly Romero has been knocked out and outboxed. So he'd been knocked out by Pitbull. He'd been outboxed by Ryu, who just recently got knocked out by Gary Russell Jr., Antoine Russell Jr. So, I mean, it depends. You know what I'm saying? It depends. Is Jose Carlos Ramirez like done? Is he like at the end of his road? He's accomplished a lot. Is Devin Haney going to just kind of put him out there? Is Ryan Garcia going to catch Rolly with something and just put him to sleep and end the story? Those are the questions we have. Is Rolly tough enough to take a punch? I mean, Rolly's tough. I mean, nobody's ever knocked out Rolly. But again, he would have gotten knocked out by Pitbull had the referee allowed it to go on. Rolly's a tough guy. No doubt about that. But will Ryan Garcia just knock out Rolly Romero? Will Devin Haney outbox Jose Carlos Ramirez? Teofimo Lopez versus Arnold Barboza. That's the hardest fighting of the night. And I know it don't seem that way because Arnold Barboza, what does he do that's really so, outstanding? Well, he's technically sound. That's the thing. He does get hit with shots, and Teofimo might be able to buckle him or something. I don't know. Arnold's a strong guy. So I'm not really sure. All of these fights, by the way, are at welterweight. Except for Teo's fight. Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, they're fighting at welterweight. So the guys are going up in weight to fight them. And Teofimo Lopez versus Arnold Barboza, that's the only super lightweight fight there because it's official. So Teo's actually at a weight class below those guys, and he's fighting for championship. I can tell you right now, he got the tougher fight on his hands because he got a hungry, undefeated, you know, dedicated guy coming at him. And we've seen that before in the case of Kambosos, right? So if Barboza Jr. can take Teofimo Lopez's punch, Tio's in for a long night. You know, Barboza, again, doesn't do anything particularly special, you know, but, you know, he got the tenacity, he got that drive. I think that's the toughest fight of the night in all of these matchups I just spoke about. I think Devin Haney's kind of doing supposedly a tune-up fight with a very seasoned, very experienced veteran. And I think that Ryan Garcia is doing that much anticipated matchup with Rolly Romero, who is not as technically sound and makes mistakes, and is probably the prime opponent for Ryan to just knock out, just blitz. Now, having given those narratives, I'm just want to say right now, I could be 100% wrong, and Rolly could show us something, you know, have Ryan in trouble. It's possible that could happen because both of them are going to be at welterweight. So there's a possibility that something like that could happen. But why these fights are so intriguing is the opponents. Ramirez, he could be a live dog in this fight. Now, he didn't look good in his last fight. In fact, he got dropped. He got staggered. He got hurt real bad in his last fight. Even though he was dominating the early portions of the fight, the veteran just kept on catching with certain shots and was looking like he just wanted to knock him out. And while he did win by unanimous decision, he got buzzed a number of times. Okay, and I know Devin has the power to hurt guys and to get him out of there if he needs to. I know Devin has that. So my question is, what are we looking at, you know, when it comes to this fight? And then with Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero, Rolly hasn't looked good for a while, okay? And the thing about Rolly is this is a big fight. Rolly has sparred Ryan, you know, and because Rolly hasn't looked good and Ryan has looked great, never mind the cheating and all that, has looked great, and Ryan's filled out and he's much bigger now. How can I favor Rolly? I mean, Ryan's so much of a better boxer than Rolly is. That's the problem. But maybe they come up with a game plan that can catch Ryan on his chin and test his chin out. And we get a very exciting fight. We do know it's going to be an exciting fight. That much we do know. But all I can see is Rolly getting laid out by Ryan. I mean, Ryan beating him up and laying him out. You know, that's the thing. But maybe Rolly proves us wrong, and he's kryptonite to Ryan, and he gets that right hand in. So you never know. It's just boxing. But these are two big names, and it's a highly anticipated fight. You know, so this is going to be a good fight. And there's a reason why that's the last fight of the night, because Ryan always brings you excitement. He might cheat, he might do this, he might do that, but he always brings you excitement. And I think that's the trick here. Teofimo Lopez versus Arnold Barboza. This, again, is probably the toughest fight of the night. And Teo's he's facing a tough opponent. This is an opponent that feels denied of the right to face him for years. So all that pent-up energy and all that hunger. Oh boy, Teo's got a lot to overpower, because Barboza is coming to get that title. You know, he's coming to get everything. He is very hungry. Like I said before, there's nothing super special about him. Okay. But there was nothing really super special about Kambosos, except for the hunger. He wasn't the best boxer in the world or anything like that. And Barboza looks like he wants to make this a firefight, which should provide counter-punching opportunities for Teofimo Lopez. The question is, when Teo counters Barboza, if he takes those punches, he's in for a long-ass night, you know. So this is another really good matchup in which we gonna find out if Tio has gotten past the Kambosos problem, because trust me, Barboza, they studied Tio and they ready to repeat what Kambosos did before. They know technically what they need to do to beat him. They know what his weakness is. So they're gonna go in there with a great game plan, and then they're gonna execute their great game plan. And the question is, will Teofimo Lopez be able to have a game plan where he's able to catch them at moments when they think he's going to do this, he's going to do something else, you know? So that's the question. We'll find out. I don't know. This is the most intriguing of the fights. A lot of people saying Teofimo, he will knock out Barboza. He's going to get the win over Barboza. I am not certain of that. Look at Barboza's face. Look at his determination. You know, he has no respect for Tio whatsoever. I don't know, man. That looks like a recipe for a good fight. So that's what I want to see. This one, favor Ryan Garcia to win over Romero by knockout. And this one here, I can tell you this: Jose Ramirez punches hard. You know, he punches hard. He was a big 140-pounder. You know, we remember when he knocked out the black fighter, I forgot what his name is, knocked him the spark out from Texas. I forgot what his name is, though. And, you know, Devin Haney, people think he's chinny, so we'll see. I don't know. You know, we'll see if Devin can get past Jose Ramirez. If he can't get past Jose Ramirez, he in for some problems. But if he shows up and does very, very well against Jose Ramirez, maybe even knocking him out, because we saw the other guy, an old veteran guy, you know, hit Jose Ramirez with certain punches. And I mean, he was southpaw, but still, you know, catch him with certain punches, and he staggered and stuff. So who knows? Maybe Haney gets a knockout. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he gets a knockdown. Who knows? Devin Haney has the skills and ability to beat Jose Ramirez. The question is not that. The question everybody will have is, does he have the confidence to do that? You know, will he get flashbacks and blah, 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 blah. So that's more the question there than anything else. You know what I mean? But these are, I mean, I know these two fights here, Haney and Ryan versus Romero and Ramirez, they're not championship fights. But the thing about it is, the only person who is not a champion in this whole mix-up is Ryan. Ryan's not a champion. But he would be facing a former champion in Rolly Romero, and Devin Haney would be facing a former champion in Jose Ramirez. Now, between Rolly Romero and Jose Ramirez, who looked worse? Rolly Romero, obviously, right? He got boxed, and then he got also knocked out, right? Slept. Jose Ramirez, he got dropped a number of times, but I don't remember Jose Ramirez ever getting knocked out. And even though he didn't look good in his last fight, he won his last fight. So it's a little different in terms of the performances of Jose Ramirez and Rolly Romero, which is probably why Rolly Romero is probably the easier of the two fights there, because Rolly can be outboxed. And on top of that, you know, you can walk him into something and, you know, knock him out. So I'm not sure, you know, Ryan's getting I guess you would call it a tune-up fight or something, you know, coming off of the suspension. And Haney, he's getting sort of a tune-up fight as well. But, you know, tune-up fights don't always turn out to be tune-up fights. You know what I'm saying? And so we're going to find out really what's going on May 2nd. And so that makes it intriguing. And again, Devin Haney was a former world champion. Jose Ramirez, former world champion. Rolly Romero, former world champion. So I'm just letting you know, these guys are up there, and then Teofimo Lopez is a world champion as we speak, but he's at 140, and he was a world champion at lightweight as well. So highly decorated fighter. Um, every single one of these guys in some way has faced adversity. Barboza has never taken a loss. He's probably the only undefeated fighter here. Kevin Haney's undefeated too, but in a way, he has a no contest on his record, so you can't, he doesn't have a blemish-less record. Let's put it that way. Ryan Garcia suffered a loss against Tank, and Raleigh Romero against Isaac Cruz. So everybody here has suffered some sort of loss, and that's why I think now, with that being in the equation, they shouldn't be afraid to face each other. You know what I mean? Tank just suffered a draw. He should have had a loss. So everybody's kind of like, facing their match in a sort of way. Not really, but kind of, you know. So, we're going to see. The only person who hasn't got any kind of blemish on their record so far is Shakur Stevenson. But he's had some challenges. So Shakur's there. But, again, without them facing each other, we can't really know, So hopefully this sets up, Ryan versus Tio, Devin versus Tio, and all that kind of stuff at welterweight, because I don't know if they want to just jump in there and face Boots Ennis. This is the welterweight division now they're going up into. Not Tio. Tio's not in welterweight, but Ryan and Devin, they're now at welterweight. So they ain't going back down. So that means they're going to face bigger guys. And the guy to face in the welterweight division is Jerome Ennis. That's the top guy in the welterweight division. And I don't know who can beat him. We'll have to see. You know what I mean? But it's exciting to think about. And we talked about Conor Brand versus Chris Eubank Jr. That's also a Fatal Fury fight. But that's a little later on in the year. Another Fatal Fury fight is Canelo Alvarez versus David Skull. That will happen in Saudi Arabia. I really don't give a flying fuck about it, but whatever. Canelo's going to be facing David Skull. And after that, I believe he's going to be taking on that big fight. And this is May 3rd. So the day after these fights in Times Square, Canelo's going to be facing David Skull in Saudi Arabia. And then after that, he's going to be taking on Terrence Crawford. I believe it's this year. So that's a huge fight that we all want to see. Okay, so those are the upcoming big fights, but the biggest of them all is really on May 2nd, right? Those are some really decent matchups. But I think the toughest matchup there is going to be Teofimo Lopez versus Arnold Barboza. And this is the talk right now at the town. Now, there's one more fight I forgot to mention, and we're going to get to it as quickly as we can. In July the 11th, Katie Taylor is going to be rematching Amanda Serrano a second time. They're going to fight again for the super lightweight WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO titles. So they're going to have a third fight, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you remember, the two fights have been controversial. The first one, they thought Amanda won. The second one, they thought Amanda won again. So they're going to fight a third time. I don't know what Amanda could do to try and get a win, but if she does get a win, we're good for her. But they're going to be fighting a third time. So those are the upcoming fights that we're going to see. So, it's up to, I'm not super excited about boxing these days, to be honest with you. The only fights I was really excited about was Beterbiev versus Bivol. What else happened this year? I can't even remember. But, oh yeah, let me see. Hold on. I'm going to tell y'all. Shit. It's almost 1 o'clock. I got to get going. Not interested in this guy. Okay, so we had Davis versus Lamont Roach. I didn't care for that. Oh, I think Subriel Mateus, he's going to be taking on Richardson, whatever his name is, something Richardson. for the IBF title. So Richardson's going to still have to face Mateus. Jose Valenzuela, he got beat by Gary Antoine Russell. I don't care about that fight. I don't care about that one. I don't care about that one. I don't care about that one. I don't care about that fight. We got more? What the fuck just happened? What is this? Man, talk about people that I don't care about right now. Okay, so let's just forget about it. So I can't remember if Katie Taylor fought Amanda Serrano this year, but we do know Alexander Usyk beat Tyson Fury. That was last year, wasn't it? That was last year. What else we had? Who else fought this year besides Beterbiev and Bivol? And Usyk didn't fight anybody else after Fury, right? So, yeah, I think that was the only big fight this year. It was Usyk versus Fury. Yeah, there's some other fights, but I think that was the only big fight this year. Did Crawford fight? No, Crawford fought last year. So yeah, that's basically it. So we're looking forward to some of those big fights with Crawford versus Canelo. But to be honest with you, again, you know, I don't really see anything that's really show-stoppingly interesting so far. You know, yeah, I mean, we may have a third fight between Bivol and Beterbiev. People are talking about David Benavidez facing Bivol, but I think it should be an immediate rematch between Beterbiev and Bivol, and then you can do whatever you want. Whoever the winner is there, best of three, you go and then you fight Benavidez. Okay, Benavidez has proven himself, so yeah, why not? In terms of who I think would win the third fight, I think it would be Bivol would beat Beterbiev, and then I think if Bivol was to take on Benavidez, I think Bivol would win against Benavidez. And people say like, Benavidez throw a lot of punches and stuff. Yes, but Bivol's style, and I'm not talking about sparring. He can brag and be very happy and confident about sparring, but I'm talking about in terms of actual fighting. I don't think Benavidez has it to beat Bivol. You know, Benavidez don't even punch nothing like Beterbiev. You know, he doesn't punch nothing like the Beterbiev. He throw a lot of combinations, but and then Bivol's physically, I think Bivol's a physically more acclimatized 175 pounder. And Bivol's a guy, you slip up with him, he's going, punish you for it. So I don't know, but we will have to see Benavidez versus Bivol because both of them throw a lot of combinations. They're busy fighters, pop the jab, stuff like that. So I'd have to see that fight, but I'd favor Bivol to beat Benavidez. I would. Yes, I would. And I'm not saying that Benavidez is not a good fighter. I'm just saying I don't think Benavidez is quite adapted to the weight class. And I saw him fighting against David, the Cuban fighter. And the Cuban fighter made a good account of himself. You know what I'm saying? He had made a very good account of himself. And so he lacked experience. And I think, Bivol's experience alone is going to, catapult him way into the lead. Benavidez would be playing catch up, somewhere around the 11th round. He's still trying to catch up, and Bivol would be just too far ahead, You got to be on it with Bivol, They're talking about pressure in Bivol. Again, Bivol hits quite hard. It's hard to pressure a guy that's punishing you every time you try to close the distance. So I don't know. necessarily exactly how that fight would go, but I think Bevo has way too much experience for Benavidez to just come in there and beat him. But who knows? This is boxing, right? So, but I'd be interested in seeing a fight like that for sure. So I would love to see that fight line up. But I believe in Bevo, man. I think Bevo has a style that's hard to beat. It's hard to beat. You know, most of the time, no matter what the judges say, the audience is gonna say, "Well, nah, I think Bevo won that fight," because not only does he do eye-catching shots, but you can't land crisp and clean on Bevo. That ain't happening. You know, it very rarely happens. So, it'd be interesting though. It'd be an interesting fight. And we'd see what happens, how it would turn out. With Benavidez versus Bevo. It's a good fight, you know. So anyway, that's what I got for you guys. Usyk should be taking on the winner of Dubois versus Parker. I think that fight will still be back on. Dubois got himself injured, he said, pulled out the fight. So we'll see if Parker made a very good account of himself against Bakoli. Not Bakoli, the other guy, the African dude. So, we're looking forward to seeing what else can come from Parker when he goes up against Usyk. That'll be interesting, but of course I got Usyk winning that fight. But that depends on if it's Dubois who wins or Parker who wins, and Parker being on a roll, so we're going to see. We are going to see. That's what I got for you guys. I am what you need. You guys have been watching this channel. Thank you for everything. You guys have a good one. God bless. Bye.